A woman in Ohio has been on Medicare for 3 years. She paid into the system for over a decade before she qualified, just like she was told to. She's lawfully present in the U.S., never undocumented, never out of status. She's not a green card holder yet, still working through her case. Somewhere in her mailbox, a letter is either already sitting or about to arrive, telling her that coverage ends in January 2027. Nothing she did wrong caused this. The law under her simply moved. If you or an older family member is on Medicare and isn't a green card holder or citizen, this is the update to actually understand right now, not after a notice shows up in the mail. Here's what happened. In July 2025, Congress passed H.R. 1, the reconciliation bill known as the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Buried inside a massive piece of legislation was a rewrite of who counts as eligible for Medicare. For years, the rule was fairly broad. Any lawfully present immigrant who paid Medicare payroll taxes for at least 10 years, 40 quarters, could qualify for premium-free Part A once they hit 65, the same as a citizen. H.R. 1 narrowed that circle dramatically. According to reporting compiled by AARP, only 3 groups of lawfully present non-citizens now retain Medicare eligibility going forward: green card holders who meet the work history and age requirements, people living in the U.S. under a compact of free association with the Marshall Islands, Micronesia, or Palau, and certain immigrants from Cuba and Haiti. Everyone else who was lawfully present and previously qualified, years of paid-in payroll taxes and all, is being moved out of the program. Here's the part that makes this different from a policy debate happening somewhere far away. This has a hard operational deadline attached to it. By July 2026, the law directed the head of the Social Security Administration to identify every newly ineligible immigrant already enrolled in Medicare and send them formal notice that their coverage is ending. The termination date on that notice, January 2027. That notification deadline has already passed, which means this isn't a future policy anymore. The letters are already going out, if they haven't reached certain mailboxes already. If this could affect you or someone in your family, subscribe now, because we're tracking exactly how SSA rolls this out as those notices start going out. Now, here's where it compounds, and it's the part almost nobody explains together in one place. Losing Medicare eligibility isn't the only piece of this. Justice in Aging's analysis of the same law found that beginning January 1, 2027, lawfully present immigrants who become newly ineligible for Medicare under H.R. 1 also lose eligibility for premium tax credits and cost-sharing reductions through the ACA marketplace, the subsidies that make private health insurance actually affordable for people on modest incomes. Before that, anyone with income below the federal poverty line who was only using those tax credits because they couldn't get Medicaid due to their immigration status loses that option entirely as of January 1, 2026. 2 separate doors closing back to back for a lot of the same people. Think about what that actually looks like for someone living it. Losing Medicare doesn't mean someone can just fall back on the ACA marketplace as an easy landing spot. For a lot of people in this exact situation, that landing spot is scheduled to disappear within roughly the same 12-month window. Medicare gone in January 2027. Subsidized marketplace coverage gone the same month for the specific group caught by both changes. That's not a gap. That's 2 floors giving way close enough together that there's very little time to find something solid underneath. There's a Medicaid angle tangled into this too, and it matters for anyone still working through their green card process. Older immigrants who are in the process of adjusting to lawful permanent resident status but haven't completed it yet can hit a hard wall on a specific date tied to their own case, miss that window before the adjustment finishes, and Medicaid eligibility can close on them as well, separate from the Medicare and marketplace changes entirely. Some states waive parts of this 5-year rule, California among them, but that protection isn't universal, and it isn't automatic. So who's actually protected here, and how do you get there if you're not already? Green card holders keep their eligibility, provided they meet the underlying work history and age requirements the same as anyone else. That means for someone currently in an earlier immigration category, asylee, refugee, or another lawfully present status not on that short protected list, actually completing the process to lawful permanent residency isn't just about long-term stability anymore. It's now directly tied to whether Medicare stays on the table at all. Naturalizing to full citizenship protects Medicare eligibility even more solidly, since citizenship removes the immigration status question from the equation entirely. Here's what to actually do if this touches your life or your family's. First, don't wait for the SSA notice to arrive before you understand your own status. If you're a lawfully present immigrant on Medicare who isn't a green card holder, a COFA migrant, or Cuban or Haitian, assume you're in the group this law is targeting and plan accordingly now. Second, if a green card application is anywhere in your pipeline, understand that finishing it isn't just an immigration goal anymore, it's now a healthcare access goal too. Third, if you or a parent could be affected by the Medicaid 5-year bar tied to an incomplete adjustment, check your state's specific rules, since a handful of states waive parts of that wait entirely. Fourth, if that SSA notice has already arrived, don't assume it's a mistake or set it aside, because the termination date on it is real, and the marketplace subsidy door may be closing on a similar timeline right behind it. Here's the honest bottom line. This law didn't take Medicare away from green card holders or citizens. What it did was quietly redraw the map for everyone standing just outside that circle. Years of paid-in taxes, lawful presence, doing everything asked of them, and a termination letter arriving anyway because the category they're in no longer counts. Think back to that woman in Ohio. She's not undocumented. She's not new to the system. She paid in for over a decade, exactly the way she was told to. The letter coming her way isn't a mistake, and it isn't punishment for anything she did. It's just what happens when a law moves and nobody sends you the memo in advance. If that's your situation, or your parents', the runway between now and January 2027 is the time that actually matters, not the month the letter shows up. This video is for general information only and does not constitute legal advice. It reflects H.R. 1 as reported by AARP and Justice in Aging, current as of August 2026. Medicare, Medicaid, and marketplace eligibility rules involve details specific to each person's history and state. Consult a qualified benefits counselor or immigration attorney about your own situation. Subscribe, because the notices from this one are just starting to go out, and how SSA actually handles it in practice is exactly what we're watching next.